Hi, everybody. This is Altavis at Comic with the Loan Signing Table. And today I have 5 questions for women professionals. What are you looking to achieve if you want to buy your first home in 2024? Now, to get to these questions, I'm going to have my guest, Deborah, and let's start these questions off. Deborah, you ready?
I am super excited to be here. Yes, and I'm ready.
Okay. My first question is, what are the unique financial challenges that female home buyers may face in 2024? And how can they proactively address them to secure a successful home ownership experience? Deborah, can you give us some tips on that?
My pleasure. First of all, Altavis, you and I have been talking for some time. And one of the things that got this podcast started was we wanted to identify there's no time to wait. Right now, what people are facing, and women in general, are the lack of inventory. So there's not a lot of houses on the market. We hear that. Rates are high. We hear that. That might tell people, oh, I should wait. But the reality is, if everybody waits and the rates are perfect and there's all these houses on the market, your competition for those same houses is going to be higher. So right now, if you have the ability to buy a house right now, is one of the best times. And the reason why is you're competing against less people because people are leaving the market and saying, I am going to wait. So it's one of those situations where you're going against the grain. If everybody's doing something, the opportunity is doing the opposite.
Great. Deborah, so for those who don't know you, I want you to introduce yourself and introduce your company and the purpose of this video today.
Wonderful. My name is Deborah Robertson. My name in the industry is DCR, which is how I'm known. I am a licensed mortgage loan originator. I am the director of sales for Powerhouse Solutions. We're a mortgage banker located in Great Neck, New York. We're licensed to lend in New York, New Jersey, Florida, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. My greatest joy comes in helping first-time homebuyers, number one, understand the process. Number two, get confident about it. But most importantly, realize they can be a homeowner. And one of the things that prevents people from getting in the game of home ownership is they don't think that they're able to do it. And my goal with this video is to let everyone know that you can buy a house, whether it's today, tomorrow, in the future, but let's get you started.
That is super, super great. Now, Deborah, I remember my stage and I had exchanged an article. I want you all, our viewers and our listeners, to read this great article that Deborah came across. I'm going to share it right now.
Awesome.
Now, here, Deborah, this article was written the first week in October. Now, Deborah, I want you to tell our viewers and our listeners, why is it important right now in the month of October to really take this article very serious? They came across, Realtor.com came across some really key factors about, especially people in our field, coming from a loan signing agent and as yourself in the real estate mortgage industry. Why is it imperative to look at this article and maybe right now start preparing yourself to purchase a home, especially for women? We're focusing on women, young professional women, minorities, and in particular, and non-minority women too, who may still want to purchase a home in 2024. When you brought this article to my attention, what was your thoughts about this article?
This is one of the reasons that started this conversation and brought us to where we are today. And it's interesting because there are cycles and seasons for all industries. And typically, the way this article is written, it says the first week in October is the best time to buy. And the reason it focused on that was that maybe the spring buying season is over, the summer has ended, people have now gotten into their homes, gotten their children settled at schools, and now maybe they're waiting. So if you're a seller who still has your house on the market, they may be more inclined to make a deal to move that property. So that was one thing that the article points out. The second thing that led to this discussion that you and I are talking about is, as a female, please know that you have the largest buying decision still today in America. Women drive the economy with financial decisions. So please know that and know that you have that power. The second thing I would say, which I took away from the article, is it's always a great time. It's a great time right now to find out what you can buy. So you might be watching this video saying, I don't know what I can afford. And that's where we want to get started is, well, what does it take to buy a house? Does everyone know you could have as little as 3% down to buy a single family residence? You need as little as 3.5% down if you want to buy a multifamily. So there's lots of things to get you started. Do you need to have perfect credit? No, you don't. What if I have a lot of student loan debt? That's okay too. So let's start the conversation now and put you on a path to buy a house. So you don't want to miss an opportunity. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. The best time was years ago, but the second best time is right now. Let's get you started.
I concur with that. Definitely. People always say, I'm going to do something, and they always plan. You just got to sometimes to step out there, step out on faith, but get the research. Don't overwhelm yourself. Because I know this, especially within our industry, there's a lot of people, pushing the fear and why it's not a great time to purchase real estate. It's an individual decision as well. So I think, especially for young professional women, I think if you're starting to look and forecast, what do you want to do in the next 2 to 5 years? And right now, you might just be a young professional woman, no children, or maybe good children. However, you're not married yet. Remember how we had that conversation, Deborah? And you may be necessary to maybe purchase your first home, but maybe an investment property. And this is where it'll lead into our next tips from 2 to 5. Now, Deborah, my next question will be for you. How can a female home buyer prepare themselves to confidently navigate the real estate market, understanding the trends? Location is key due to the market fluctuations. What are your thoughts on a purchase decision of what they need to look for in 2024?
Most important thing is for women specifically, and anyone looking to buy a house, it's so important to put a team together. And what I mean by a team is you want to deal with licensed professionals. So if you're doing a mortgage loan, you have to be a licensed professional. If you're selling real estate, you're a licensed professional. If you're a closing attorney, you're a licensed professional. You want to align yourself with people who are going to educate you in the market, and you want to trust them. So that's very important. And why is that? Because there are so many parts to the home buying process. The first thing starts with getting a pre-approval. So knowing that a pre-approval is free. If you want to get pre-approved for a home loan, there is no cost. The only cost that may or may be requested of you is the cost of a credit report. Most people are not required to pay a credit report fee in the beginning. You will have to pay that at the closing table. So I come across situations where I'll run into a customer and they say, well, I had to pay X amount of dollars. And these aren't small fees, $100, $500, $1,000 for a consultation fee. That does not exist. It is free to find out what you qualify for. That's the first thing. The second thing is once you're pre-approved, so how much can I afford? How much do I want to spend? How much, if I want to be an investor, how much time do I want to take to manage other people, meaning collecting rents, repairing a property? So those are things to think about. There's a lot of glamour when you see investors, but there's also a working ethic side to it. So the most important thing, to get back to your initial question, is assembling a team of professionals. Starts with your mortgage loan originator, your real estate agent, and your attorney. They're going to teach you the local market. They're going to show you homes that you're in the areas that you're looking for, and they're your support team, and they're there to work and advocate for you, making the process simple, making the experience exciting and easy. And that's one of the things I pride myself on. Is the most stressful times in your life are typically when you get a new job, when you're moving, whether you're renting or buying, getting married, getting divorced. Those are stressful times. So how can we make it easier? And the way we could do that is by educating, explaining, and listening to the needs of the client. Those are the most important things.
I'd agree. And also for too, as a loan signing agent, Deborah, when I'm out here facilitating these loan signings, either on the purchaser end or the seller end, especially when I am partnering with, lenders like yourself, escrow officers and title agency, we are the people that show up, and sometimes people are so nervous. Over the past couple of years, young professional women from the age group between, and I usually talk to them, they're pretty nervous, but at the same time, they're super excited to be entering the real estate market. A lot of them are purchasing homes outside of New York, within the five boroughs, but they're going to certain cities. That article written August of this year, the top home states that women or even, young professionals should be looking into. And let's get into that. And let me name your four. Austin, Texas, which is a tech hub, booming city where a lot of individuals are looking to move to. Then we have Louisville, Kentucky.
Sure.
You know what the number 5 was? New York City. Even though we have limited space, we have the zoning laws when we can purchase a home. It's a great appreciation. What are your thoughts about those 5 cities that look to invest in 2024? Before we go into our next 3 tips you can provide young professional women looking to purchase a home in 2024.
I have a lot of thoughts, and I'm going to focus on New York. As you mentioned, it's in our backyard. New York is a great place to invest in is a couple of reasons. Number one, the pre-pandemic level of job growth in the city of New York is up. So before the pandemic, job decline, job rebound, we're up 150,000 jobs in New York City. So the cities that you identified are cities that are growing. They're places that people are going to. And that's where you want to invest. Are there going to be people that are going to be moving to want to rent in those areas? So that's very important. One of the trends you're seeing that you saw, the pandemic caused people to move out of cities. They wanted space. But now people are coming back to cities because that's where the jobs are. That's where the opportunities are. People are being required to go into the office again. So that is something that is important when you're looking at investing. And what I would say about New York City and investing in general, you and I touched on this. Investing sounds wonderful, but there's work that's involved in that. And a great way to enter into being an investor is maybe as a first-time home buyer, buy a multifamily house, whether that's a 2-family house, a 3-family house, or a 4-family house. There's several reasons for that. Number one, you can use the rental income to help you qualify for the loan. So let's say, for example, you live in Brooklyn and your rent is $3,000 a month. Okay. Mm-hmm. And let's say that you think that you could qualify or you're willing to pay $35,000 to $4,000 a month to buy a house. Well, that might limit you on what you could afford. But now if I say, okay, well, what if we added another tenant and I'm giving you rental income from another unit? Maybe that's another $3,000 or $4,000 that I'm qualified you for. Now the ability to purchase expands. So that's one example. The second example is by buying a multifamily. Let's say buy a 2-family, you're going to live in the property and then you're going to see what it's like to collect the rent, to deal with maintenance issues, right? Real time. So you can decide if you're managing that and you like doing that, maybe that would leave you to, as the equity built in that house, buy another house, invest in another area, grow your portfolio. Or you say, you know what, I'm happy with where I'm at. Or maybe you rent out the other unit and then you go buy a single family down the line. So it creates a lot of opportunities. So to your point, which is those 5 cities, those are all cities that are growing. There's economic development and there's opportunity for renters and investors. The last thing I want to touch on is there are also programs that are being expanded to allow first-time home buyers and owner-occupied borrowers put as little as 5% down or 3.5% down to buy a multifamily that you're going to live in. So there's lots of opportunities. Reach out to a mortgage professional, find out what you could qualify for, and let's get you shopping.
Now, Deborah, you mentioned about special programs. Do you know one offhand that you can mention, or will they have to talk to you directly to get more insight about those programs?
Both. I won't go into great detail, but I'll just give you an example. I'll give you 2 examples. So number one, there's two programs I'm thinking of right now. One is an FHA loan. An FHA loan will allow you to put 3.5% down to qualify. And that's on a single family, a 2-family, a 3-family, or a 4-family. You have to live in the property. The second program is a conventional loan where prior to, this is going to start in November, where you can put 5% down to buy a 2-family, a 3-family, or a 4-family. And today, the guidelines are 15% down payment for a 2-family and 20 to 25% on a 3 and a 4-family. So for easy numbers, if you're buying a $100,000 house, let's say it's a 2-unit. Now, obviously, you're not buying a 2-unit for $100,000 in Brooklyn, but let's just use easy numbers because you can go up from there. So you're going to put $15,000 down on a 2-family versus $3,500 if you're doing an FHA loan. So having that come up to 5% down, now I only have to put down $5,000 versus $15,000. And now you add the zeros to that. If I'm buying a $500,000 house or $1 million house, my down payment just became a lot less. And now I have more opportunity. So one of the things that people are burdened by is the ability to save. And if we can overcome that obstacle, we create opportunity. So knowing that, that's why my goal for this call is the conditions don't have to be perfect. If everybody waits for the perfect conditions, oftentimes you don't start. So if you have 5% saved, call a mortgage professional today, find out what you qualify. What does it look like? How much is that payment going to be? What if I started practicing that payment today and saved that money that was over my rent? What would that look like? How quickly can I get to my goals? So people oftentimes they try and pay their debt down. Same thing with the savings plan. I call it the mortgage diet. Start practicing for when you're going to be paying that mortgage. Please know when you're paying a mortgage, people consider this a large debt. In actuality, you're paying yourself. Yes, you're going to pay interest on a loan, but guess what? You could write that interest off on your taxes. Did you know you could lower your tax bracket and pay less taxes and get more money in your take-home pay every year? Not everybody's talking about that. The second thing I would also say is that when you pay down the principal balance, you're creating equity. Even if the house stays the same, it's a forced savings plan. So I'm very passionate about home ownership and helping borrowers. So I apologize if I got too long on that one.
No, Deborah, I like how you said mortgage diet. It's a lot of types of diet.
Yes, yes,
I need to go on a mortgage diet. Like,
yes. Where's I practice paying that payment now before you get into it, and then
anyone, either one for a first time home buyer, or even as like, people who are already property owners, you may look into maybe purchasing a second or third home down the line over the next couple of years, or maybe look in 2024. Because right now we're still forecasting, we're based on what the experts are saying. We're going through a wave. But you and I, discussed behind the scenes, what the expectations look like between the first and second quarter of 2024. But I definitely like that tidbit. We go on a mortgage diet. So I have our viewers and listeners in here. Go on a mortgage diet.
Yeah, go on a mortgage diet. Start practicing today. Yes.
Start practicing, and you see how far it gets you when it's time to, to look at your first home, purchase a home, or do your first investment property, which leads us to my next question, Deborah. Now, I really answered this already earlier, but let's just go in there. Go right to it. What should female home buyers be aware of terms of mortgage options, interest rates, a down payment, requirements to ensure they can secure the best financing specific needs, depending on their circumstances? What would you suggest?
Perfect. The most important thing, and I'm going to sound like a repetition person, but having a mortgage loan originator who's going to listen to what your needs are, because you're going to have a couple things that are important. People are always talking about the interest rate. Okay. So if you go and log online, what are the best rates? Those are for people with premier credit, 20% down payment, buying an owner-occupied property. Very simple. So if you have any variables, let's say you're self-employed, let's say that you don't want to put a lot of money down, let's say you want to put a lot of money down, let's say you want to pay more in insurance, you don't want to pay mortgage insurance. The most important thing is people focus on the interest rate, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is, number one, getting the house and getting a house that you could afford. So there are many different types of mortgages. We touched on FHA and agency loans previously, 3.5% down or 3% down on a single family rents, or 5% down. That's low. Those are low down payments. You could put more money down. The second thing that's important for women to focus on is the terms. So what is my monthly payment going to be? And can I afford that? A lot of times you can afford it, but do you want to pay that? That's also something you want to think about, okay? In addition, you can get an adjustable rate mortgage. You could get a fixed rate mortgage. What's important to you? What do you feel comfortable with? Is this your first house that you're going to buy and you're planning to live here 5 to 10 years? Or is this your forever house? Maybe you want to get a 30-year fixed loan. I just had someone call me and say, Deborah, should I take a 7-year loan or a 30-year fixed loan? And I said, that's completely up to you. I said, do you want to refinance in 7 years? Or do you want to go to market conditions in 7 years? Are you comfortable with that? Or do you want to take a 30-year fixed, agree with the payment, and not think about it again, and have the opportunity to refinance if you want? It's completely up to you. There's no right answer. The right answer is, what are you comfortable with? Okay. The second thing is, as I mentioned, you have to do a needs analysis on what's important to you. Is it having no mortgage insurance and making more of a down payment, or maybe paying mortgage insurance and having a less of a down payment and letting the equity in the property appreciate so that you do refinance and you get rid of that mortgage, those mortgage insurance. So what I would say in terms of single female first-time home buyers is identify what's important to you, identify what's included in your monthly payment. So you're going to have a mortgage, you're going to have property taxes, you're going to have homeowners insurance. If you're buying a condo or co-op, you're going to have HOA dues, or you're going to have maintenance fees. What does that payment look like? So it's not just a mortgage payment. There's a lot that goes into it. Identify it, get comfortable with it, talk to a mortgage professional, and see all the options. Because when you see things in writing and you feel comfortable with them, they become a lot easier. And fear goes away with knowledge. Understanding the process will get you a lot further than you think.
Great. Good answers, Deborah. I'm sorry, I'm having a little technical with the...
No problem.
We're gonna push through. This is what happens when you're recording in the afternoon in New York City. But we're gonna push through. Which leads us to my next question, Deborah. Now, how can female home buyers protect their financial interests through the entire home buying process? For example, from property selection, inspection to negotiations. and or the closing process? And what are some common pitfalls that they should avoid in 2024 when they're purchasing their first home?
That's a great question. And I will tell you the top 3 questions I get asked. So the first thing in terms of protecting themselves, get a licensed mortgage professional, deal with a licensed real estate agent that is working on your behalf, okay? And make sure that's clarified when you are entering into a contract with that individual. So sometimes you could have someone that's working for the seller and the buyer. Are you comfortable with that? Sometimes the attorney could be working for the seller and the buyer. Are you comfortable with that? So I would say identify the individual who is going to be working on your behalf. That's first. The second thing I would say is, do you want to lock your interest rate up front or lock it at closer to closing? The longer the term of the lock, it may cost more money. So identify what timeline you're getting involved in. That will help you. And then the third thing I would say is when you're putting a contract together, make sure you're doing your home inspection, make sure you're getting an appraisal, and make sure you know what you're buying. And that's very important. You don't want to buy something and waive a lot of contingencies like a home inspection, like an appraisal, because you want to get the house. You want to know what you're buying, and that's very important. So take the time to do that. So those would be my recommendations to protect yourself during the transaction.
Great information. And also too, Deborah, what I noticed when you see me, I'm sorry, when you hear me.
I can, yeah, you look great.
Sorry about the there's so much going on.
You look great.
There's so much going on. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned about the home inspection. Just to be safe, they usually have a second person just to make sure nothing slides through the cracks. So, what are your thoughts about just having a second home inspection? Because the last thing you want to do is get a home and then find out that there's this and that happening, and you got to put more money into that property.
Things in life that are required. Number 1, food, but number 2 is shelter. And if you're buying your house to live in, you want to make sure it's safe and secure. So get the home inspection. If you're not comfortable with the feedback that you got on the first one, get a second one. Let's say it costs $350 or $500 or $150, whatever the cost is, you want to know what you're buying. Let's say you identify a home and it's being sold as is. That's okay. You can still get a home inspection so you know when you buy that house, what are the repairs that I'm going to be required to make? Or what is the investment long term? For example, do I want to have the roof inspected? Typically, the real estate agent's going to tell you when the roof was last done, right? Typically, roofs last 25 to 30 years. So if they just had a brand new roof, they'll have the information there and they'll oftentimes give you the guarantee that's on that. Let's say, for example, you notice that there's water in the basement. Why is there water in the basement? Was there a recent rainstorm? Does it flood here often? These are questions that you can ask, but your home inspector can find out maybe what the source is. Is that going to require some repairs on your part? Did the windows close? If they don't close, why? Is the house settling differently? These are things that a home inspector can reassure you that it's not a big deal. It can be repaired. These are the estimated costs. As the home buyer can make an educated decision. Okay, I'm buying this house as is for this price. I know after I buy it, I'm going to have to make the following repairs. Am I comfortable with that?
I definitely agree with you with that, because like no one wants to, I know, sometimes you want to make sure you have a slow transition in when you purchase your first home, but you know how it is. 9 times out of 10, there's always something. So I definitely agree with you, but I also think you got to step out there. You have to learn from mistakes. So now, if you do encounter that, you know what to do in the future. Deborah and myself is just advising people to make sure that when you're purchasing your home liens, that they have these certain tools in place and knowledge, so you don't feel overwhelmed, but you also know the steps of what do you need to do to start, your new life as a homeowner or an investment property owner for future real estate transactions. Our goal is to make sure that people stay in the game and they still consider purchasing their first home in 2024. Which takes us to my next question, Deborah. What steps can female homebuyers, and we know this is competitive, but I think sometimes people have to hear certain questions in certain ways.
It's finding someone that you trust, because the person who is going to help you buy your first house, the real estate agent is going to identify what you want to find and buy. So they're going to help you locate the best house based on the information that you provided. The loan officer, myself, the licensed professional, is going to be in charge of all of your financial documents. So they're going to ask you for your social security card, your income documents, your assets. They're going to need all that information to get you approved for the mortgage. So before you hand in all this information, find out, number one, are they licensed? Check online, do they have any reviews? Does the company that they work for have any reviews? Check the Better Business Bureau, do a quick Google search for reviews, and find out what people are saying. And I would also ask your immediate circle. Have you purchased a house lately? Who do you recommend? Who have you worked with in the past? Those are a great source of support that can help you find out who the best people are. Because if someone went and had a great experience, they typically want to share it with someone. Same thing if they didn't have a good experience, and why. People have a great experience when someone listens to them, when they take their information to consideration, and they explain the process. So getting a licensed mortgage professional, a licensed real estate agent, a real estate attorney, working with someone like yourself who's very professional, who's going to answer their phone calls, answer their questions, walk them through the process, and be patient, because this is a big endeavor. But the more patient you are, the easier it becomes, because knowledge will overcome any fear that they have. I would never get discouraged with the process. If you're unhappy, let the individual you're working with know, and you're not locked in, because you don't pay money upfront for anything. So when you enter into a contract to buy a house, you're going to put a down payment, and then you'll have a mortgage commitment or mortgage contingency clause with the amount of time before you buy the house. And in that time frame, if the mortgage is not approved for any reason, you can get your down payment back. The cost of the mortgage, as I mentioned earlier, there's no fee that can be charged to you until you receive all the disclosures of what your mortgage is going to cost. So the only fee that can be charged is a credit report. And then after that, your appraisal fee. Those fees can be refunded also if the loan doesn't go through. So very important that you're working with people that are going to walk you through the process. If someone you come across says, oh, this is very complicated, don't worry about it. That's the wrong answer. If someone says, this is very complicated, but let me take the time to explain it to you, that's the person that you want to work with. And I'm going to stay here and answer all of your questions until you feel very comfortable with the process. Is that acceptable to you? The most important thing when you're dealing with anything, not just mortgages, but life, work with people that respect you and will take the time and explain things to you.
I agree with you. And indeed, Deborah, it's very imperative that, when you're definitely walking into the home ownership way of doing things, and people, like I said, this is your journey. It's not a race. Some people might think it's a race, but it's definitely a journey. We start your first home. You have to do your research, but you got to get the key individuals who can help you navigate which states are good to purchase a home. Like we mentioned earlier, in today's conversation, what professions you need to have on standby when you're trying to purchase your first home. How much is the down payment? As you mentioned, Deborah, how much you have saved, especially when it comes to having a mortgage diet. A super cool concept. Deborah, did you cover what mortgage diet? Because we're going to make you coin that. It's the mortgage diet.
No, I didn't coin it. I read it somewhere about 2 years ago, and I thought this was the best thing.
Okay, I don't hear that, the mortgage diet.
We all have friends who are very organized and determined and diligent, that are always, have this plan. And we can too. Everyone has the ability to start where they are and get where they want to be. It just takes discipline and hard work. So if you have a plan, and it'll make decisions very easily. So for example, if I know that I'm going to be saving this much every single month to go up towards my house, and someone asks me to do something, or if I find something I want to buy online, I'll say, no, that doesn't fit into this is my more important goal. And it makes things very clear.
I definitely agree. Remember, I mentioned to you, we was having our conversation yesterday. It's been big news that it went viral. And here's the quote. I want you to get into it.
Yeah.
Is Cardi B correct about Birkin bags over real estate? What would you advise her, especially she's that demographic of young women? I think she just turned 31, maybe 2 weeks ago or a week ago. What would you advise a woman of her stature, even though she represents 1% of high net worth individuals in the country, but for her to state that, with all her social media followers, what are your thoughts, and what would you advise her for any future real estate transaction that she would choose to do down the road?
So first of all, I want to thank Cardi B for doing that, because she created this conversation. So that's the first thing. She said that was very important, is that she did not want real estate as a gift. So I'm going to dog ear that, because that is a very good point that we should talk about. And I'm going to come back to that. If you see yourself as an investor in owning properties and having cash flow, practice it. Start by buying a multifamily where you live in one house and the other renter lives in the other house. So you own a 2-unit property, you're in one or the other. You could practice. Did you like it? Grow from there. Going from zero to managing multiple properties can be a lot. Let's say that you want to have someone else do it for you. So find a management company that is going to be responsible for finding qualified rental candidates, collecting the rents for you, and also manage the process if the tenant doesn't pay. So those are two very important things. Cardi B mentioned that she got real estate as a gift. Right. So sometimes you receive something and it might not be what you're looking for, or you might not be prepared for it. So I think that's what she was touching on, is that she didn't ask for this property. I think it was in the Dominican Republic. It was lovely. And it was supposed to be an Airbnb rental. When someone gives you a gift that creates more work for you, is it really a gift? I don't want to speak on Cardi B's behalf, but I thought that was an interesting point to take. So I believe that real estate is, number one, it's an accessible investment to women today. And it can create generational wealth, because you can own your house today and regardless of current market. So if you look at home values today, let's say look at them 2 years from now, the values will go up and down over the course of your life. But typically there'll be a gradual increase line where, let's say it's up this year, it might be down next year, but overall, over a long period of time, it's an investment in yourself. It's also an investment in your legacy. So you could live there, you can appreciate the wealth, even by paying down the mortgage that we touched on earlier. It's an asset that you have, and you can give it to your next generation, or you can use it for yourself to buy additional property. My advice is educate yourself on the process, decide what you want to do. Do you want to manage property and collect other people's rent? Do you want to try it out by buying a multifamily? Do it. Whatever is right for you, and what's right for someone else isn't right for everybody else. And that's what I would recommend. There's also a very important thing about diversifying your assets. So if you have someone who has a 401k plan, they invest in different items. So all of your 401k isn't invested in one stock. It's invested in different types of stocks: short-term, long-term, emerging markets, stable markets. There's variable things, bonds, right? Your portfolio is mixed up. Investment in real estate is the same thing. It's a way to diversify your portfolio. So have your 401k, but have your real estate. You're making payments to live someplace every month anyways. Why not have that money be put to work for you, paying down a mortgage, paying yourself, and investing in yourself? I hope that answered the question. Start looking for yourself and seeing what's important to you and what you value, and start asking questions. Even if it's just going to an open house and seeing what the property looks like, what it costs. Oftentimes there'll be a lender sheet that's there that'll identify what the cost of the house is and how much it will cost to buy it today, with different variable things. So those are my other recommendations as well.
Deborah, when you were just discussing, tidbits for Miss Cardi B, we got enough, but I definitely appreciate your advisement to her, and you'll never know, she might just see this video.
I would love to be Cardi B. That would be amazing.
So glad we had this convo in here at the convo at the lunch signing table. It was a very insightful conversation between you and I think it's very important that we still have people stay in the game, especially if you're looking to enter, this real estate market in 2024. Now, Deborah, I'm going to put all your information in the show notes in the description bar below. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, just please share your information again. How can they reach out to you? Is it LinkedIn? What's the best platform that they want to reach out to you, just to get some more insight about you and your company's business? What can they follow you at?
That's perfect. Yes, I am on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram. Deborah Robertson, DCR. I work with Powerhouse Solutions. Our website, www.phsloans.com. Our phone number is 516-829-2900. But come check us out. Check out our reviews. Make an inquiry. We would love to talk to you. We would love to help you. We would love to see where you're at in your home buying process and get you to where you want to go, whether it's today, tomorrow, or 6 to 12 months down the line. It doesn't matter. The most important thing, as we touched on, is to get started. Find a mortgage professional, find a mortgage team. Let us help you put it together. This is nothing to be afraid of. Everyone deserves to have shelter, and everyone deserves to buy a home. And we are here to educate you and help you get there. So I am delighted to be here. And I thank you for putting this together and educating your followers.
Don't call for me in the comments. I'm just talking to young professional women. We have another video following that's coming up with Deborah that would definitely be more insightful for, for another group that we would like to also share information when you're entering the real estate industry in 2024. But right now, I want these ladies out there to please take these tips that Deborah has provided for you all and definitely try to apply them. And you have all her information in the description box and the show notes below. Deborah, thank you so much, and we shall talk soon.
Wonderful. Such a delight. Thank you for a great morning, afternoon, and looking forward to continuing the conversation. Have an awesome day.
Sounds good.